Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we are breaking down our picks for the top five and one worst level one cleric spells. Um, well, I'll start off by saying I found this list a lot easier to make than the cantrips.
I found it a little easier to make than the cantrips. There are a lot of spells where I was like, yeah, it's fine. My worst, I had a really rough time like sifting between them all, and I'm pretty sure
All
everyone's
the
like, "Oh, Sam, you picked Cure Wounds for your worst." No,
I
I'm gonna
was
let that
thinking
cat out of
that.
the bag now. It's not the worst cleric spell. There are worse ones. It's
I
still
was
bad,
I
but
was
like,
I was certain that was going to be it. I was like, oh, here we go. We don't even have to ask. We all
yeah, no,
know. But no, wow,
I
all right, you're gonna surprise
yeah,
us.
there are worse things in this game than Cure Wounds, believe it or not. Even though I would advocate that it's the most overused and poor spell that people are taking that they shouldn't be. But it's not like the worst cleric spell ever.
Yeah, that wasn't mine either. And you'll be happy to know it didn't make my top five either.
Thank God. My time here has been for something.
That wouldn't have. I mean,
Are you sure?
yeah, yeah. I'm
Nice.
well actually no, I'm probably not sure. You have educated me. Um
Uh, as always, I do these 1 to 5. Bob does them grab bag order. And
yeah.
also, important context, more so than cantrips, these are preparable, which means that you don't have to like pick them. You can choose them every long rest, which makes some of the ones that like we're not going to even be talking about still valuable. They're just not ones that you're going to regularly always prepare. I think this list that we're going to be hearing from us today are probably the like this first level spells you'll pretty regularly want to have prepared. That you'll be like, these are the ones that if I don't know what I'm doing, if we don't know where we're fighting against, if we don't know where we're kind of going with this next session, these are generically good options that you're always happy to have. But there's plenty of options on here that if you're going into this one very specific scenario, knowing that you can prepare it is very useful. And keeping that in your mind is going to be important whenever you're evaluating cleric spells.
Now you said you found this only a little easier than cantrips. Does that mean you've got some ones you just tacked on because you needed five?
I think one of them, yeah, I feel is like this one is the most. This is the one I prepare the least regularly, but is one that I still like. If I'm going into a generic encounter, I'm pretty happy to have. Honestly, the hard part was picking the worst one. There are like
Yeah.
5 cleric spells where I'm like, I don't ever see these cast. So
I wonder if our picks will be the same.
let's find out. You want to go
Yeah.
first?
No, I'm talking about for the worst. But
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a lot of crossover for the top five. But yeah, I think you went first last time. I'll take the first crack at it. Well,
Sounds
since
good.
all right, did um what's it called? Healing word make your
I think
list?
it's the best. Yeah, yeah. I think it's
Was
the
it?
best first level cleric spell in the game in that it's the only one that I would almost always regularly have, and it's one of the only healing spells you ever end up taking.
Yeah, and yeah, I picked that largely in part of your education
Mm,
here on this channel.
yes. Turns out
Healing word. Yeah, go ahead.
ranged bonus action healing, very valuable, and at its what it does that you need it to do is get someone off of 0 to give them actions again. That is it does. We talk in length in both Cure Wounds and Healing Word videos about why these are the spells that you should be taking. I highly recommend my Cure Wounds video. I think I do a great breakdown of like, this is why the spell isn't good. This is the exact reasons why things like Healing Word are better. This is what you need out of it action economy wise. Despite the fact that I don't like giving Healing Word the first slot, I don't like that clerics are like, oh yes, they are the healers. It's almost a class feature for them. It's something that you slap on your character sheet. Okay, I've got Healing Word. I've got one spell slot in the back, just waiting to Healing Word whenever we absolutely need it in case something disastrous happens to the wizard, and that will keep the party moving. It'll win encounters that it shouldn't. It's very useful in all tiers of play. It's very important to have.
Yeah, the three basics: bonus action, so you still get your regular action. Ranged, that's pretty amazing. And what was the other big one?
Enough healing.
And yeah, all right, yeah, I guess thought there was something else. But yeah, I mean, yeah, all you need is the 1 point. Get somebody back on their feet, and there you go.
Easy peasy.
Um, I think we've ironically beaten Healing Word to death.
Absolutely, we have. So I'll move onward. That wasn't number one. So my number two, we'll just go top down. I picked Bless. I think Bless is a banger of a spell. Do you?
Yeah, that's on my list.
Yeah.
Um,
Bless is just like you pick a bunch of buddies and they're all just better at everything for a minute. If you're a backline cleric, this is a no-brainer. It's really easy early because you don't have a lot to concentrate on Bless, and it's gonna feel good when you're using it. Everyone's gonna be like, oh right, I get to D4 to this, and it's gonna change some fun results. People will notice that it's impacting some rolls, and it affects everything. So like once people start rolling with it, they're like, wow, Bless is really nice to have. You probably don't prepare it after like third level. You probably don't prepare it after fifth level, especially. But in the early tier, this is the spell you're concentrating on more often than not, unless you get a cool subclass spell from your domains. But
now, yeah, like Healing Word and Cure Wounds, they got kind of a little rivalry going. The same, I think, is true with Bless and Bane, but Bless,
Pants is
yeah,
Bane.
yeah, because Bane can fail.
Yeah, and that's a
I mean,
big
because
difference.
that is a huge difference. You think, all right, well, Bane's cool. You're giving penalties to your enemy, and everybody can pound on them. That's kind of the same thing, but no, it
It's
doesn't always work.
No, not
Bless
only does it
always
not
works.
always work, there's less applicable situations for it. You
Yeah.
can bless allies out of combat to help them with a larger best amount of ability checks. I like running things called skill challenges where you have like a series of events happening. And bless is really good in high stakes, like you're in a mine cart and things are flying out of here and you're trying to figure out how to navigate this fun encounter. They're really fun like variants of skill challenges that have kind of been like fathered in from 40 that people recommend. Bless is great in those circumstances, and it's great in just a variety of cases because you know your allies are gonna be making rolls only at like, basically is only subtracting a d4 from enemy attack rolls, and that is way worse than giving a bonus d4 to all your ability checks, all your attack rolls, saving throws, all that kind of fun stuff.
Agreed.
And again, like you said, I think this is the most important part. You can't miss Bless. You can miss Bane.
All right. Those two I was pretty sure we were both gonna have. Let's see. I'm gonna get one that maybe you have, maybe you don't. What do you think about Guiding Bolt?
I cheated,
Uh-oh.
as I normally do, unsurprisingly. I picked a tie for my third place slot, and it's Inflict Wounds and Guiding Bolt. And we can talk about Guiding Bolt right now. Guiding Bolt's pretty great.
Oh, Sam, how could you not do these lists honestly?
I know, I'm just so terrible at this.
All right, yes, Guiding Bolt. Now I went back. I was doing my research for this list and looking at your review of Guiding Bolt. You seem to undersell the importance of the guiding part, and you like this almost strictly as a damaging spell. Where
Yeah.
I'm kind of the opposite. I like the damage, great, but if the damage was less, I'd still like this for the guiding part.
I feel like we've had this exact conversation before.
Probably. Do we do a Guiding Bolt video?
I don't remember, but I definitely
Yeah.
was like, yeah, no, that's just vicious mockery. You're just talking about frostbite. Like you're talking about cantrips that already
Okay.
exist, Bob. There are ways to do supportive things with damage. You care about the 3d8 damage a lot on guiding. You really do. At least I do. I think advantage on a single attack roll, you can get that a bunch of different ways. The help action does that. If you really don't care about the damage, Bob, you can do it for free. Just take that, get up right in there, and help them out by giving them some emotional support. That will give them advantage. Alternatively, you can be doing 3d8 damage from a safe location. There are no other spells that clerics get like naturally that you can like that aren't on their domain list that give you this range to cure fairly high damage option. If you're looking for that, this is the option you turn to. If you're the backline cleric and want to be able to dish out some damage, this is a great option. It also like highlights and supports other allies, which is works in tandem with like the cleric support fantasy, but it also lets you feel like I'm the one doing big damage here. I'm the one that's contributing meaningful blows to this monster. I'm not just a all support, giving people buffs only kind of character. I am the one landing my own haymakers and have my moments to shine. I think it's really important for a support class to have, and having one attached like something like Guiding Bolt, I think is great.
Let me ask you this, because all right, I see what you're saying. Damage is important, and I'm not gonna turn my nose up at it. I'm not gonna say no, thank you, Dungeon Master. I don't want this damage. I want
1d8's good
everything.
enough for me,
Yeah.
DM.
But if I have the choice to outright kill a wounded creature and use this against somebody that's not wounded, I'm gonna make the unwise decision to because I want the full use of my spell. I'm going to
And
hit
you're
the
going to be
uninjured
wrong
guy.
in that action,
Yes,
like you
but
just said.
I'm going to hit the uninjured creature and let my friend finish him off.
Or let that monster that was about to die kill your friend instead, because now they get a turn that they shouldn't have had because you shot something instead of it.
All right, well, maybe I will consider the initiative order.
Sure. That's,
Ah,
I think there's obviously context is going to matter, but more often than not, you should be trying to kill one thing at a time. Guiding Bolt helps that game plan by you hit it first, and everything piles on top of it nice and easily. And if you have to finish something off with it, that's fine. Do that. You're not missing anything if you like overkill it by 3 or 4 points of damage and the advantage doesn't occur. It's dead. That's a win.
yeah, well, case by case basis.
Sure, you're
All
over here like trying to make sure you get every little ounce of your spells, even if doing so is a horrendous mistake that makes everyone worse off in the long run.
That's right. All right. You mentioned what else did you say?
Inflict wounds.
Inflict wounds. That also made my list. So all right, go ahead.
Nice. So the reason I like Inflict Wounds and Guiding Bolt, and I put them both on here, is because they functionally service different characters. Cleric is one of those classes that has, because they get the subclass at first level, and that subclass determines a lot of their proficiencies, you end up getting very clear characters that are like, I want to be a frontline melee character with my heavy armor and my shield and all that fun stuff, or I am in just my medium armor and stuff, I'm probably in robes because that seems more thematically fitting for like your light domains, for your life domains that are, I guess life domain also kind of wants to be front end, but like you have some back end characters or backline characters that want to be hanging out behind and doing more castery, full caster kind of looking stuff. Both of these options, Inflict Wound and Guiding Bolt, are the damage options for those respective archetypes, and it kind of like divides the class. It mainly favors the frontline stuff. More clerics than more than half the clerics want to be up in the frontline with a mace, with a shield, with some kind of heavy armor. But for those that don't, Guiding Bolt is a really important option. Inflict Wounds is the option for those frontline characters, though, that are like, I want a good damage option, and it is better in a lot of cases. It's the highest single target damage first level spell in the game. In like a vacuum for a single action for just no other context. 3d10 damage is about as much as you possibly ask for. It's very short range, but my god, will you see some players' eyes go wide when they roll a 10 or 2 on those d10s, and something that has like 15 hit points that was a boss at the time was like, the bigger bugbear just dies. They will feel so cool and so powerful, and Inflict Wounds opens up that moment. I think it's important, again, for the typically supportive characters to have options that give them moments to be that big and powerful. Inflict Wounds absolutely delivers on that.
I like the name. I just when I think cleric, I'm thinking the archetype is the healer, but this is just polar opposite. This spell is, because a lot of spells inflict wounds. It hurts things, but this is just distilled down to the core. This is what I'm going to do. I don't know what it looks like. Is it an explosion? Is it a stabbing? Or what? It's just straight up wounds.
I do love that,
wounds.
like technically every damaging spell is inflict wounds if you think about it, because you're absolutely right. They are inflicting wounds. But yeah, this feels, I think cleric actually outside of their specific subclasses, I think cleric feels to me like one of the most legacy classes, in that it has a lot of the old like Bane Bless stuff. It has a lot of the inflict wounds, cure wounds dichotomy, the protection from evils. It's like very clearly missing some of the text for like alignment based magic that the game used to have a lot of, and it gets a little clumsy with some of the spells that we're gonna probably talk about later. But like Inflict Wounds definitely feels like this is just distilled evil. That's all this is. I don't know what it looks like, but this is like the evil cleric doing an evil thing by inflicting wounds upon somebody and just like rending their soul, I guess, or body, or both. Who knows? It's pretty cool.
I don't want to get too far off track, but I remember the old 8-bit Nintendo game, Dragon Warrior. You had the spell heal on the opposite end. The spell is just called hurt.
No, even better.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
No, even better. The upper level of that spell was called hurt more.
That's pretty good. I mean, a lot of old D&D looks like that too, right? A lot of them it was greater heal, and we still have heal, cure wounds, greater restoration, lesser restoration. Like a lot of the just really generic fantasy named BS magic is just, it does what it says on the tin. I don't know what to tell you. It inflicts wounds. It does harm. It power word kill. That's what it does.
Yep.
It's definitely a very cleric-y thing.
All right. Well, that was inflict wounds. What else?
That was
How
mine.
many do you have left on yours?
I have 2 left on mine,
Let me see what I've got left. Come on, mouse.
but I cheated. So
Yeah, you did. That. All right, I got
they
one
serve the
left
same
on mine.
purpose.
So, all right, I've got one left on mine. So you go ahead and take a crack
All
at
right,
it.
sure. My next one, and I think this might be the most contentious on my list, and this one I'm maybe least sure about. It's Command. I have Command as my number 4 cleric spell. It is potentially very good. I've seen it do a powerful thing now and again. It's never more than once or twice a campaign, and I think I see it flounder more often than not, as opposed to like really get something cool to happen. Still, there aren't a lot of cleric spells that give you like a powerful utility option, that give you like a powerful, unique way to engage a character or NPCs, like navigate a bunch of varying circumstances. This is usable in and out of combat. It's usable to get people to do specific jobs. This is a spell that, for a really creative player, can be a great tool in their tool belt. It's just much harder to use, I find, than a lot of the other first level high creativity spells, like the illusion stuff or disguise self, stuff like that.
Well, I think that I agree with that because I always have trouble thinking of one word. Now I forget what I was going to say.
Commands.
Commands, yeah. Imperative statements, yes.
I mean, most of the time they're
Yeah,
like action verbs where you're just like, thing, do thing.
yeah, but do
like,
thing, that's 2 words.
yeah, but like normally, so like flee or
Yeah.
hide or
Right, they give you some
bludgeon
examples
is
like
a fun
stop
one.
or bludgeon. Yeah, or just bludgeon anything.
Yeah. This is part of the problem you're definitely identifying.
Yeah, it feels like there should be more intransitive verbs that you could use, but and I'm sure there are. They'll let us know in the comments, I'm sure.
True. At minimum, the 4 they gave you, or the 5 they gave you, approach, drop, flee, grovel, and halt, all do some amount of utility. Like, while a single first level spell, being the prone condition, isn't outwardly powerful, it is in the context that it can also flexibly be the 4 other modes. So if you like ignore all of command that can be custom and just take the 5 modes given, halt, for example, just denies a creature a turn. And it also does that on top of the other things it does. It upcasts to hit multiple creatures. We're both big fans of that. There's some flexibility in using this that I think will get it to, I think, like, more often than not, if you're a cleric, just start like jotting down ideas you have as you're playing. Is like, oh, this command would have been great here, and write down ideas and names of the words. And if you just get a decent roster of those, I think you're going to find a lot of success with the spell.
Yeah, I'm sure it's better than I typically give it credit for, but yeah, not good enough to make my list.
It was close for me.
All right, the last one I have that we haven't covered yet is Sanctuary.
Oh, I don't have Sanctuary on my list. I think Sanctuary is overrated.
I actually forgot what it does since I let me look it up real quick. Sanctuary. Oh yeah, that's right. I was thinking. All right, well, why do you think it's overrated?
So first,
what
the first
don't you
main
like
problem.
About it?
What do I like about it, or
what don't you like about it?
I don't think it ever does anything meaningful, which is hyperbolic. But for the most part, if you're engaging in a fight, everyone is contributing in that fight. There are not many fights in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition where you are like, oh, I'm going to only heal here and have that be an effective strategy. Or, oh, I'm going to only, cast buff spells. Or I'm only going to, hide behind this rock. Even in the situations where you do dedicate yourself to that line, how often are you being attacked in that instance whenever you can dedicate all of your actions to hiding, dodging, dashing, and moving? Right? Like, there seem like that isn't a likely scenario where you're going to get the crap beat out of you, and if you take a single hostile action, the spell ends. It doesn't matter any context around like how the hostile action takes form. If you just like swat back an attacker and hit them, Sanctuary goes away. Where it's supposed to shine, I think, is like protect the hostage situations. I don't find those to really happen at 95% plus of tables. I think most people tend to run the kill or be killed combats. in more dynamic environments, in environments where you are trying to protect a hostage, where you are trying to keep a specific person alive from an onslaught of baddies, I can see Sanctuary having a home that is hyper niche. And I think that you would prepare this spell for that encounter. I don't think you're taking this spell regularly out adventuring and finding more or less any use with it, because the whole of the party is going to want to contribute to killing the baddies. That's just what D&D is all about.
All right, this is yeah, maybe. See, I had a different idea for it. I wasn't thinking like hostages. I was thinking more like protecting someone who's using a concentration like buffing spell for the party. But
But if they cast a spell that affects an enemy, if they deal damage to a creature with that concentration-based effect,
yeah,
if they make an
yeah.
attack roll, Sanctuary goes away and you wasted a spell slot. Now, granted, you don't necessarily need Sanctuary to have that long of a duration for it to matter. If you can get like 3 creatures, or even I would say if you can get 2 creatures to miss because of Sanctuary, to have to attack something else, it's probably worth the bonus action cast time because it is very cheap. It's just a bonus action to put on somebody. I still think that window is relatively limited and often isn't going to matter that much. I think a lot of times you're going to see, like, if we're in the world where creatures know what spells do, you're going to see them, like, you Sanctuary the wizard that has a flaming sphere out or whatever to maintain concentration, or you Sanctuary someone with a summon spell out. The monsters, instead of attacking them in initiative order, ready their action to attack them after the wizard's dealt damage, and then the wizard gets the crap beat out of them on their turn, whatever their thing goes and deals damage, and it doesn't really have a meaningful upside with competent tactical monsters.
Yeah. Man, I wrote this earlier today, and I was thinking of scenarios in which it would be useful, but and I still think there are such things. There's, I don't know, like for I'm gonna have a hard time arguing this one because yeah, you do want it. All right, no, here's what I was thinking though.
I'm with it.
So before the fight, you cast Sanctuary. Now, the attacking creatures, they don't know the spell's been cast. They just what?
No, continue. Go ahead.
Oh, all right. They they decide, all right, I'm going to attack this guy, and then, no, I don't want to do that. What are they thinking there?
What are the monsters thinking there?
Yes. Or what or
are they going to prioritize the creature being actively hostile or the one that seems to be passively ignoring them? Because Sanctuary asks the creature to passively ignore them. If you're saying, like, we prep this in to prepare for an ambush where anyone can be hit, then this spell seems actually uncastable because that is the antithesis of what an ambush is.
Yeah.
So this isn't a spell that you can, like, really easily prepare going into a fight. This would be like the best use case that I'm thinking of, right, is maybe you have a wizard that's dedicated to pure pacifism and they haste somebody and then want to be a sack of hit points, so they run in the middle of it. And they just don't do anything because their spell. Then you have this weird conversation where you have to wonder, does the spell affect an enemy if it's hasting an ally is killing people with hasted actions? I would argue no. That seems fine to have not be a problem, but other people won't rule that. But then, like, you also, if they don't hit the creature that's sanctuaried, they can just hit something 5 feet to the right of it. They can just hit something else within their range, or they can just move and hit something else as well. It doesn't mitigate the attack entirely. They can just choose a new target for the attack rolls as they see fit. So, like, even in the best case scenario, you have to put a wizard pacifist isolated in the middle of a bunch of monsters and then have them run around them, miss 1 or 2 attacks, and then be like, I guess we hit other people. And that seems outlandish to begin with. And that's where I'm coming up with the best real case, like, average adventuring party day use for this.
All right, you're probably right. I don't want this to be Sanctuary the video. That's going to be fair. Sanctuary the video. And I'm going to come up with some better arguments for when we do that.
I think a lot of people like this spell. I don't think I've ever seen it cast and been particularly effective.
All right, well, we'll get back to that. Do you have one more?
I do. My last one made the wizard spell list. I think this spell's just great. It's Detect Magic. Detect Magic is baller.
Yeah, it didn't make either of my list because I don't know. It's like, of course, Detect Magic, but it just felt too obvious to talk about, I guess.
I think if it's so obvious that it's too obvious to talk about, you should include it in your top 5.
It should be on the list. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, because it's a no-brainer, right? It's a ritual spell. It's a passive effect that you can just take by preparing a spell. Clerics, notably more so than wizards, you have to prepare your ritual spells, where wizards just get to stick them in a book and forget about them. So that's a little bit more of an order, but I think Detect Magic very regularly earns a spot as being like, okay, this is the one spell I prepare this ritual spell. Detect Magic is great. It detects evil things. It detects, summoned and conjured creatures. It detects all forms of different magics. It's good in area. It's something that's very recastable. It's even something you don't mind busting out with a first level spell slot now and then whenever you're like, oh, this is dire. We need to know where the magic is right now and what kind is happening. All those times, Detect Magic is going to be great. I think this is one of the best little utility exploration spells in the game. I think is something that any full caster worth their salt probably wants, if they're a ritual caster, probably wants to have at the ready for the most of the time that they're able to. It's just a way that you could engage with the world and access out the gate that I think identifies like, yeah, I'm a magic user. I can understand and work with magic, and this is how that works.
I 100% agree. Yes. Detect Magic is great.
Yeah.
That's
we
really
just
all I got to say about it.
I think we took whatever little else we had to say about Detect Magic and we just shoved that time over to Sanctuary.
Yeah.
And that's how this video worked out.
All right. Well, I guess we'll save your surprise choice for last, and I'll give you my pick for the worst. I hope it's not the same.
It might be.
Because mine's kind of boring.
So is mine.
Is it Detect Poison and Disease?
That was my runner-up. Mine's Purify Food and Drink.
All right, yeah.
They're kind of two sides of the same coin. They probably could be the same spell and no one would bat an eye.
That's actually, I was thinking that. One of the reasons I picked, Detect Poison and Disease is because I thought, well, if you're really worried about what the food you're eating is, there's Purify Food and Drink.
And my thought process is you never ever are casting Purify Food and Drink unless you've also already detected poison and disease. And that's like, there's something where you go, something's fishy about this meal. I think I shall prepare Purify Food and Drink for it. No, you just detect the poison and throw it out, right? That's like how if you know the food and drink is poisoned, don't eat the food and drink. You don't need to purify it. You can get any amount of food anywhere else. This is not a spell anyone ever needs to be taking.
What if it's being served to you by someone evil and you don't want to let on that you know?
So you very discreetly cast a divination and ritual magic spell to purify the food before them.
Well, you wait till they
very discreet.
You wait till they go back to the kitchen.
Why don't you do a good old cowboy switch, right? Just be like a whoosh whoosh. That seems like a more practical way to do that. And you don't even need either of these spells in that case. You can just be like, maybe we don't. Maybe we think the king's gonna get poisoned, because you have to. If you're taking either of these spells, you have to already think that's going to happen. Maybe just source the bread yourself. Maybe go out and find the food and be like, hey, king, we think you're gonna get killed soon. We're gonna make sure we walk you through the process of doing this. Absolute worst case scenario, our cleric will prepare detect poison and disease so they can, spam cast that as a ritual to make sure this doesn't happen. But with Purify Food and Drink, I can't even see, these are both laughably ridiculous circumstances that are one scenario in the billions of possible options that a role-playing fantasy game tends to employ. I don't think either are ever reasonably getting cast. I've never seen someone willingly prepare either. Without it being, this is the scenario, I've never seen someone prepare them willingly.
Well, I'm glad that we had different picks, even if they were for the exact same reasons.
Exact same reasons.
Got anything else to say?
Poisons and diseases are widely underused and underdeveloped. That's a big problem for Protect Poison and Disease, but we talk about that at length at a lot of times anytime we talk about poisons.
Yeah, I remember I read that in in my research for this. What, the giant spider is venomous? You don't say.
My god, the rat is diseased? No way, it's foaming at the mouth. Who would have guessed? You're saying those giant skin warts on it with bulbous green ooze spewing out? That thing's not healthy? Crazy.
All right, well, I guess we'll end it there. That's our picks for the level 1 cleric spells.
Let's hey, post review. What were your 5?
I don't remember. Let me look it up.
Well, I can tell you mine. Mine was number 1, Healing Word, 2, Bless, 3, Inflict Wounds / Guiding Bolt, depending on your position in the party, 4, Command, and 5, Detect Magic.
All right, mine was Bless, Healing Word, Guiding Bolt, Inflict Wounds, and Sanctuary. Still standing
So
by
we
Sanctuary.
I think we can count that as like we were 4 or 5 the same.
Well, yeah, if you cheat and put the
If I
entire
pick
list
6.
on there, yeah. Yeah, this is probably our highest crossover so far, huh? Including the
I think we've had some wizard ones that were close. I'm more interested in the comments below to see other top 5 lists that are different than ours. If you were like, oh no, Sam's 100% right, even though he cheated, or like Bob, actually Sanctuary is busted and Sam's wrong and this is great. I'd love to see your lists and why
busted.
you think they're good.
Yeah, I'm interested as well. Looking forward to reading the comments. Stay tuned for level 2 spells. We'll see you next time. Thank
Thanks
you,
so much,
Sam,
guys.
and thank you everyone for joining us. Bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it, a gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description where you'll find my Caverns and Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.